Now I'm going to do a video of Spellbound Dizzy. Now this is a game that is, again, just a single load, so it's not terribly painful to load it, but it is a 128k game, and you can see that these games are a lot bigger, or they can be a lot bigger, and they often have music as well. So turn it on the way you turn it on by plugging it in. And like I said before, you can load games up with the tape loader, and since it is a game that supports 48k and 128k, I think just to get it to recognise that I want the 128k version, I'll just use the tape loader. Oh, look at this. This is the first time I've played the Spectrum version of this game, and I didn't realise there was an advertisement. This isn't the proper loading screen. This is just a sort of advertisement. Oh, there we go, there's a proper loading screen. I think that's a really nice picture. So there's one thing that you can say about Spectrum games is that they're very colourful. I mean, you don't really have a choice but to have a colourful screen because of the limited amount of colours you can choose. It's either this or monochrome, usually. Spellbound Dizzy, if you load the 128k version, takes about 9 minutes. I very rarely have trouble loading a game for cassette, but this did actually fail to load the first time. I'll just show you it now quickly. The picture goes red, which might be the game's way of telling you that there's an error, and when it gets to the end of the tape, it just crashes back to basic. But on the second attempt, it loaded up just fine. And we have some music, and it's a really good tune too. It looks like there was enough memory left over to keep that advertisement and the loading screen in memory. There's a few other little bits and pieces here, like the character animations. Dizzy has quite a few new animations as well. So the aim of this game is for Dizzy to help get his friends back from this underworld that we've found ourselves in. There's some nice funny little animations as well. But this is a bog standard Dizzy game, which, if you're not familiar with the Dizzy games, it's one of those flip screen adventure games. They're actually quite common on the Spectrum. The Dizzy games came later, but they ended up being quite a popular franchise on 8-bit computers and even on 16-bit computers. He got about a bit. Now you might notice this game has sound effects. The sound effects are actually played by the the old PC bleeper style speaker thingy in the Spectrum. For some reason, it's about 10 times as loud as the sound chip is. I do find the sound effects a little bit annoying in this. You don't get sound effects on the Amstrad version of this game, which I'm most familiar with. But it turns out that this is nigh on identical to that version of the game, except that its graphics are being displayed by the Spectrum graphics chip. So you've got that weird thing that they call colour clash, where you see that the colours are sort of fixed in place, even if your character moves past them. So anyway, yeah, to play the game early on, you have to do an awful lot of picking up rocks and taking them across this little pit here. There's a bag that you pick up later on that can let you pick up more things at once. And you have to solve a few puzzles before you can even get the bag. And yeah, there's an awful lot of back and forth here. Right, so now I've got these two rocks, I can finally go down the windy shaft where most of the game map is. So most of the game is down here. I did complete this game back in the day on my Amstrad. The size of the game didn't bother me in the slightest because it was just more Dizzy. I loved it, I absolutely loved it. But playing it today, yeah, all of this walking back and forth is a bit of a chore that they probably could have streamlined a little bit. This railway track is the key to getting over to the bag. But I've got to solve a few puzzles first. The most obvious one is that there's a bit of a kink in this track here, so I need something to bosh that down. And there's a few other things that you have to work out as you go along. But I always thought part of the fun at the time was working out the problems and making a little bit of progress each time. Did I mention this music is really good? It's not a case of somebody saying, oh, this is just a Spectrum budget game, so let's just make some little bleepy thing. This is actually a really sophisticated tune. But yeah, they've done an absolutely fantastic job. You see, sometimes there are games on these computers, and to get around how much limited RAM there was, they would have a game map that was like generated by code. They'd brag on the cover that there's like 1,000 rooms. It's all kind of computer generated, so you get about 700 of those rooms look completely identical, you know. But it's clear that this game was designed on paper beforehand. The Dizzy games do tend to get a bit of criticism, but I think they are a really sophisticated late series of games for these machines. They're always very well designed. So I'll end the video there. So that's Spellbound Dizzy. That is a look at a 128k game. And as I said, it's not actually only for 128k machines, so it might not make use of all of the memory. It might just be a 48k game with just a tiny little extra. But there you go, there's Spellbound Dizzy, and when I get around to it, I'll make some more videos.